to take it down. So you guys will see some more video.
And take your credential.
Exactly, and take your credential. So if you guys want to see more video, you'll just have to tune in to our broadcast or on Fox Local at 5 and 6. That's where we'll have more of that, Sam Darnold to Justin Jefferson connection, or Aaron Jones catching some passes, or how Jonathan Grenard looks, getting off the ball, those type of things. So we will have that for you at 5 and 6 on Fox Local and on air. But right now, we're talking about just what we saw with our own 2 eyes, what's going on that we know of. And right now, this defensive backfield, they're hurting right now, Don.
Yeah, and not only did they lose someone, and on a different level with Kyrie Jackson passing away, but now Mekhi Blackmon out, tearing his ACL.
Yeah.
Out for the season. They had to sign 2 more players today. And it's really difficult watching a young guy like Mekhi, who really went through some growing pains, had some injuries a little bit last year. So he was just on the rise, so to speak. And you'll hear from Brian Flores in a little bit, but I loved Ahmad, how he almost takes it personally, for his players. Like, you just see the disappointment on Mekhi's face, and that's just another blow to the DB room, especially cornerbacks specifically.
I mean, Mekhi had a lot to prove this season. He was a guy who, saw action in a lot of games last year, made 3 starts, but he didn't play up to the level he wanted to play to. He was dealing with a shoulder injury all towards the end of last season. So I know he was anxious to prove all of his doubters and naysayers wrong. So just a brutal blow for that secondary, especially after you lose Kyrie Jackson, a 4th-round draft pick who probably would have made an impact for this team later on down the line. So now you're down 2 cornerbacks that were going to be pivotal pieces, to this defensive backfield unit. So now that just means Caleb Evans, Andrew Booth Jr., those guys, A.J. Green, who they just brought over from Cleveland, those guys are going to have to make an impact, and they're going to have to make an impact right away.
And what I did like that they're saying that there's still very much competition left in that room, but when you're a coach and you're hoping to have a guy that you saw coming along be right there, in addition to losing Kyrie, on day 2. And it happened on day 1. So on day 2, you're already dealing with it, and everyone says, hey, that's the NFL.
Right.
We know that's the NFL, but it's still difficult.
Yeah, next man up. But this is what Brian Flores had to say about his defensive back who was gone after day 1.
It's a tough injury. Tough injury, tough time. He was excited. He had just worked back to get back out here. He worked extremely hard to get back out on the field. He played banged up last year for us. And we I was excited about, watching him come back in year 2, more comfortable, more understanding, more knowledge, more experience. I thought we were going to see a different version of Mekhi, a better version of Mekhi. And quite honestly, I think we'll see that moving forward.
And he also went on to say, the way Mekhi is, as soon as he's allowed to come back, he's going to put me in. So they also have to bring him along smartly because, like you said, he's got a big future.
He does.
And they want him to be part of the team and the scheme going on, but they have to be smart about it.
Yeah, he posted on social media last night. He said, it is what it is. God got me. So he's facing it head on, as a lot of these athletes do when they suffer season-ending injuries. But the way that the ACL recovery goes nowadays, I have no doubt in my mind that we'll probably see him taking part in team drills late in January or February, knowing how these things go. So I'm sure he'll be back ready to go for OTAs next season. But speaking about the defensive backfield, we mentioned Kyrie Jackson, just a brutal loss for this team. His impact was already felt heavily amongst his peers. I spoke with Dallas Turner, a teammate of his, while at Alabama for 2 seasons, and he has his nameplate above his locker right now. He says, I'm going to carry on Kyrie's legacy throughout this entire season. And you love to see what the Minnesota Vikings did for them, committing $20,000 towards his funeral costs, but also making sure they're paying out his nearly $1 million signing bonus to his estate to make sure they are taken care of. So first-class gesture from the Minnesota Vikings, but a brutal loss for this defensive backfield. And, obviously we hear all the time, next man up, but this is just a different situation. You'd never expect to replace a man after death, in the NFL. That's not something that you really talk about. So I don't know how they just pick up the pieces and move on like this, because this is not just an injury, but this is their job. This is their profession, and it's something they have to do.
And what I think Brian Flores was showing us today is you don't just skim over it. You go through it, and you go through it as a team. And many of you might be out there saying, hey, he was a rookie. How much did they really know? Well, Brian Flores said he was watching every single game tape of his from Oregon, all those pre-draft interviews, the things behind the scenes that people don't see. They really get to know this player. And what I really loved when we talked to Kyrie when he was drafted, and it was a Zoom, and you already saw his personality, and we're saying, like, how close were you to not coming back to football and playing at Oregon? Because he had his struggles, starting with community college and then trying to stay in it, and just a big smile. And he said, well, I was the employee of the month at the grocery store I was working at, so, things are going pretty good. So I don't know if all of a sudden Oregon didn't kind of come back into the picture, he may not have at least saw his dream of being drafted in the NFL and also being with the Vikings and them loving them so much. So Brian Flores spoke about Kyrie today, and not only about, yes, the loss, but the grieving process that he's going through personally, and also the rest of his teammates.
We spent, quite a bit of time with Kyrie during the draft process, starting at the Senior Bowl, meeting him there, spending time with him there, then Zooms, 30 visit, and then obviously when we got him here, we were really excited about him. I know me personally, I watched every snap of him last year at Oregon, so I was really excited about coaching him, getting him here, and I think he had a bright future. So it's still something that gives me a pit in my stomach, still something that I'm dealing with internally. Like this entire organization is, like I know his family and friends are. But I hope they can take a little comfort in knowing that he certainly impacted a lot of people in a very positive way. He's going to be missed.
And Ahmad, you can hear in his voice too, there's a couple of times there are little hitches still, or that his thoughts were measured so he could still be composed when he talked about them.
Yeah, I spoke to Harrison Smith about this yesterday because reportedly he sent out a text after the news to Kyrie Jackson to the rest of his defensive backs, letting him know that he loves them and, he can't wait to spend, spending camp with them. But when I talked to him yesterday, I said, how do you handle things like this as a veteran leader? Like, I'm sure you don't have experience with things like this. He said that's no text, no call you ever want to receive. And he absolutely felt it for the Kyrie Jackson family because, they're probably feeling it the most right now. But he said he just wanted to let everybody know that he loves them because you can't take any single day for granted. But he said Kyrie Jackson's presence was felt in every single room. He had this big smile on his face when reminiscing about Jackson and what he did and what he was able to establish in the 2 months that he was around his team. So that just speaks to his character. So you guys will be reminded of Kyrie Jackson all season long. No player will be wearing the number 31. They'll be wearing the number 31 decals on the back of their helmets. You'll probably see KJ, his initials around US Bank Stadium. You certainly will out here at TCO. So the presence will be felt all year long. Dallas Turner, his teammate, said, I talk to him every day still. He was like, I talk to him. He was like, I think about him, and I carry his legacy onto this football field. So that's things you want to hear, especially if you're a member of the Jackson family.
Especially so, too, where you have to take this heavy heart for the players, but you still have to perform. You still have a job to do, and the coaches still have to, too. So to handle that, I think they're doing it in the best way possible. Sure. Two of the guys, and this was mentioned earlier by Kevin O'Connell, that they did have to bring in Duke Shelley. Yep. He's back again with the team, but also two other guys that you're going to notice, number 40 and 45 on the roster today, in at practice today. Jacoby Francis, he's a DB, and Jabril Cox, a linebacker. So, that's the NFL, Ahmad, You have to come in cold.
Yeah. There's Duke Shelley right there. He's a member of the Vikings.
He's hilarious.
So he's back. He was excited to be back around here. I know I was speaking to a former defensive back here, and he said the DB coach just absolutely raves about Duke Shelley. So they're happy to have him back. There's Andrew Van Ginkel alongside Dallas Turner right there. Two guys who you hope to make an impact. So we'll certainly have more on the Vikings as we continue our Vikings Training Camp live. But we're going to wrap up here this first block, throw to a commercial break, and we'll see you guys on the other side.
Welcome back to Vikings Training Camp Live. Now, Ahmad, we were talking a little bit about defense in the last block. When you talk offense, you have to talk about Sam Darnold, brand new general, shall you say, quarterback now. Of course, we're all going to wait for J.J. McCarthy and how he comes along. And I really thought it was interesting yesterday when we were listening to Kevin O'Connell talking about the mindset of the quarterback journey. And this is not a general one. This is a specific one for a guy like Sam Darnold that still has the goods, that still has something to prove, also knows J.J. McCarthy's in the rearview mirror, and has to answer questions like, how are you mentoring J.J. McCarthy when his job is to actually beat him and play? But he handles it so well and so classy that it is a different headspace, and you have to be a certain kind of quarterback that can handle that.
Yeah, you got to be a certain type of leader. You got to be strong mentally to play quarterback in the National Football League because, as you know, when you're Sam Darnold, the clock is ticking. Everyone wants you replaced. Everyone wants to see the next guy up and coming because of your track record and the resume that you put out there for everyone to see. But as I've said before, as I've said all offseason, Sam Darnold has never had the plethora of weapons that he has here in Minnesota. We didn't get to shoot this video yesterday, but if you happen to look on the Vikings social media page, you'll see a 50-yard connection from Sam Darnold to Justin Jefferson on a post route where Justin Jefferson was just jumping for joy because if you know, after Kirk Cousins went down last year, the Vikings didn't necessarily have a quarterback that had that arm strength to really test the secondary and stretch the field and get Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison the ball downfield. That won't be a problem for Sam Darnold this year. So I think he's going to let it fly because not only did we see that one on social media, there was also this other one. It was man-to-man coverage. The corner, A.J. Green, pressed Justin Jefferson. I'm looking at the play. I'm like, I know where they're going. It's man-to-man coverage, no single high safety. They said hit Justin Jefferson,
And
beat him off the line, hit him in stride, and it was another touchdown. So Sam Darnold is letting it fly right now. Hopefully we'll have some more updates for you. We'll have to tweet that out because we can't show you. So hopefully the Vikings will have a nice hype video, but right now offensively looking good, but they only have helmets on, so the offensive line isn't really doing much. Defensive line isn't getting after Darnold. No pressure in his face, but they look good on day one.
Look at it. Well, hey, when you can just kind of do wide and free, right? It's going to be nice. But one thing I thought that was really interesting, too, is we heard in the past when Kirk Cousins was first trying to get acclimated to this style of offense, Kevin O'Connell, what he likes to do, all the different things. He says like drinking through a fire hose and his, but Kirk is a different personality than Sam. Kirk was very tedious in his learning and that. And when Sam was asked the same question, he didn't seem overwhelmed. He's like, yeah, it'll take a little bit to be comfortable. But when you see those plays like that, you feel like he's got a pretty good grasp already on the schemes, on the playbook, and on what they're doing. Again, B-Flow hasn't unleashed what he has to do, anything yet on these guys. So that's to come in camp. So that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, and what you love about Sam Darnold, he just sounds like a quarterback one. He's been around the league before. He's been the starter. He's been the backup. He's been the guy that's been replaced. So he's humble. He's been through everything that a quarterback can go through in the NFL. So he sounds like a QB1 right now. I'll let you guys take a listen to what he had to say earlier today.
For right now, it's just going through the play call, going through what I'm seeing on defense, and just making sure I'm checking all the boxes mentally for me. And then, if the read obviously takes me to Jets, his ability to, change speeds and, pick an angle and stick at that angle, it really helps as a quarterback. Even these first day throwing to him.
So he finally got a chance to throw to Jets, see what it's like. Timing and chemistry is everything for a quarterback and wide receiver because, certain guys may run a post and aim it towards one, goal post, and the quarterback may want you to aim it over here. So those are the things that you have to work out. But I really don't think that we will see that connection and that chemistry flourish until week 4 or 5 in the season. I don't think that we can just judge Sam Darnold off of the first couple of games because they're not going to play in preseason together. So you really won't get that full football experience until week 1. So I just stress the fans, be patient, all right? Just be patient. This thing will take time.
And we'll tell you what we see, obviously, if we see that connection coming along. Because what I really like is Justin jumping up and down, like, yes, I finally have that, like, this is going to be sweet. Just imagine how Sam Darnold feels that he's got someone like Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and all of that, and even protection up front. When he was asked about the O-line, obviously they can only get into so much right now, but he's got his blind side secure in CD. We got CD and BO. So we got Brian O'Neill, Christian Darrisaw. And that's just to name a few. So once their chemistry gets going too.
Yeah, and a lot of other pieces to this offense. We talked about it yesterday. Sam Darnold will also have T.J. Hockenson when he returns off the PUP list, and then you'll also have N'Keal Harry. Maybe he can make this roster, as a new tight end. He was a former first-round wide receiver, transitioned from a wide receiver last season to a tight end this year, picked up about 15 pounds. But if he can pick up the blocking, assignments for a tight end, he could also be an asset for this offense. He's a big red zone target that the Vikings are going to miss without T.J. Hockenson because, hate to break it to you guys, Justin Jefferson is a dynamite player, but he's not the biggest player. Jordan Addison is smaller than him, and their wide receiver 3, smaller than all of them, Brandon Powell. So they need a little bit of size. They'll miss that when T.J. Hockenson is gone. So maybe Johnny Munt, Robert Tonyan, and N'Keal Harry can pick up some slack. Aaron Jones, not the biggest either, but he also runs very big. So, it's a lot of weapons offensively. So Aaron Jones, we asked him yesterday, and he was like, this feels like the Jordan Love Green Bay Packers of last season. When everyone doubted them, they started slow, then they finished the season hot. And he was like, I still think that I'm an underrated running back, but once my career is over and you look at the numbers, I'll go down as one of the greatest running backs of all time. So he has a chip on his shoulder. This whole offense thinks the sky is the limit. And when I was talking to Jordan Addison about this offense in the offseason, he was like, man, we're going to be so fire. And I was like, you think so? He was like, we're going to be good offensively. He's like, our defense is good too. So they're drinking the Kool-Aid here in Minnesota right now.
And when I love Sam Darnold mentioned the defense too, he's like, even just the couple days and even in camps when they're going about it, he's like, Harrison Smith likes to mess with us. Sure. He's calling the plays on the defense, or not calling the plays, but, really commanding it out there. And he goes, and Harry just likes to really mess with us. And so I was wondering, does Harry like to mess with you like verbally too? Because we know that he can have that dry, funny sense of humor. So the chemistry, even with the offense and the defense, Brian Flores saying how much in love he is with offensive line guys. Yeah. Like he hung out with them at BC. So what I really like is seeing the camaraderie between the offense and the defense. Mm-hmm. But things will start heating up, especially since these positions are heating up. Now, Ryan, I'm not sure if we still have that soundbite when it comes to Sam Darnold talking about Justin Jefferson and what it was, how much he's learning from him. Do we have that one? That's really he had some fun things to talk about it.
Yeah, where we just played it where
about
he was
the Netflix.
Speaking. No, I'm not sure about that.
Okay, we don't have that one. So what he was saying is, I like learning so much about the guys because it's about chemistry. And he goes, now, I watch Netflix, so I know a whole lot about Justin Jefferson and probably a whole lot more than he knows about me because I was watching the receiver show. So, they're even having fun about that. And that they're teasing each other. Like when you're on receiver, they're teasing Harrison Smith because he's on there if you haven't seen that yet on Netflix. So, I really like seeing that. It's day 2 of camp, and they already have that kind of situation going on.
And I think the camaraderie is good to see, and also the accountability that the teammates have. Jordan Addison, I know, was a big storyline yesterday. He spoke to media, spoke to the reporters about everything that he has gone through, and as he said, he's standing 10 toes, and which means that he's standing forward. He's not running from anything. He's facing all of his adversity head on. He said he's glad for his teammates humbling him. Mm-hmm. He said they have been tough on him, but he certainly appreciates that. They asked him, how do you learn from this? He said, I don't know. I'm young. But he said, I'm certainly trying, and I'm trying to grow through all of this. So check out what Jordan Addison had to say about his offseason troubles.
I own up to whatever it is, any disciplinary actions that come my way. I'm going to stand tall, face it, get through it, and shake back. I'm going to stand on all 10, take whatever come with it. And, I own up to everything, and I feel like anything that come my way is, meant to happen or is deserved. So, I'll do what I got to do.
Yeah, so when I went up to Jordan Addison yesterday after he kind of went through that media scrum, I asked him, I was like, man, that was tough, wasn't it? He's like, it is what it is. He's like, I put myself in that situation. I'm going to be the one to face it. So he seems mature about everything right now, which is what you want to see. But ultimately, he said, my job here is to score touchdowns for this team and to catch footballs. And he said, I feel safe here. I'm in my safe spot being around my teammates, my brothers, and he's focused on the task at hand. He said his agent, his attorney told him not to answer many questions regarding that incident. So he says he just wants to talk about football, and that's what he'll be able to talk about for the next 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, and yesterday when I asked him how tough it was, like coming back to your team, he said he didn't know what he would expect from them. And then when he was met with open arms, and yes, some talking to in terms of like brotherly love, Justin Jefferson kind of taking over like that big brother role. I think that was pretty cool that he saw what people say in words. He saw in action here with the Vikings. So we've got another segment to bring you. So we're still just scratching the surface, and it's only day 2. But if you stick around on the other side of the break, we'll bring you more from Vikings Training Camp, day 2, right here on Vikings Training Camp Live.
All right, welcome back to Vikings Training Camp Live. A little bit going on, day 1 and day 2. So recapping what we talked about earlier today, Mekhi Blackmon went down with the torn ACL yesterday. The team brought in Duke Shelley. They also signed 2 other free agents today to kind of help compete with that training camp roster and depth right now. The wide receivers connection look good right now. Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson, and Sam Darnold. We haven't talked about J.J. McCarthy at all. J.J. McCarthy showed some flashes yesterday, a lot of checkdowns, what you expect to see from a young quarterback. He was checking the ball down to his running backs, Aaron Jones, not connecting on a lot of deep passes right now, as to be expected. The tempo is probably ramped up quite a bit from his Michigan days.
Yeah, and I also think they said early on in camp that they want to really work a lot on his footwork and his timing. And so when you're in your head about that kind of things, and what they were saying is, the college game and where you place your feet and, what difference between happy feet in the NFL and what works when you're at Michigan are 2 totally different things.
Yeah,
so
sure.
He's got to work on that, work on the timing, and then pretty soon, I know we use this expression a lot, but it's like drinking through, a fire hose of just all this knowledge and everything that's coming at you. And he'll learn really quickly, even if he's in team 2 with B-Flow's defense, all the different schemes and get up to speed. So he's not expected to be that guy. And I think that is huge going into this camp, Ahmad, because you're not carrying that pressure of an entire franchise just yet, but you also know you can compete for it.
I think the one storyline that we have yet to discuss that I'm sure we'll dive deeper after the first preseason game, the backup quarterback spot. Is it going to be Nick Mullins, an experienced NFL veteran, or is it going to be your first round draft pick in J.J. McCarthy?
Or do you keep 3? Because you can keep
no. I know you keep 3, but who's going to be the backup? Somebody has to be the number 2.
You mean
The other person won't dress. They'll just be the emergency quarterback, or they will dress, but they won't, be able to get in unless someone gets hurt in front of them. So I think that's the big storyline. Who's going to back up Sam Darnold for week 1 of the regular season?
I think once we see reps, we might know more of that
Absolutely.
coming up.
So stay with us on Vikings Training Camp Live, because after those games and reps at practice, we'll have updates. That's Don Mitchell. I'm Ahmad Hicks. We'll see you all